Welcome back to Sip&Talk. Glad to have you with us.
Good to be here.
Okay, so today we're navigating some pretty complex territory. The world's noisy information overload is real.
It really is. And that's why we're focusing on how, powerful state actors actually shape the narratives you hear internationally.
Right. We want to give you, the listener, some practical tools. How do you decode the messaging? How do you tell, facts from spin?
Exactly. The goal is to help you become a more critical information consumer.
And the specific focus for today's discussion comes from looking at the techniques used, particularly by the CCP, to frame criticism and dissent.
Yeah, we're looking at how they often try to blur that line between what's a legitimate critique of the party's actions
versus painting it as just general, often quite emotional, anti-China sentiment.
If we can understand that mechanism, it really helps cut through the noise.
Okay, let's get into it. Segment 1. This core strategy you flagged, the nationalism packaging.
This is really central. The material we looked at shows this consistent effort to basically conflate 4 distinct things.
Which are?
The party itself, the state apparatus, the Chinese people, and Chinese culture. They work very hard to make these seem like one single, inseparable entity.
Okay, so they bind those 4 together. What's the immediate knock-on effect?
Well, the consequence is pretty stark. Any legitimate criticism, let's say, about human rights in Xinjiang or the Hong Kong national security law, it gets instantly delegitimized.
How so?
Because it's no longer framed as a political or policy disagreement. It automatically gets weaponized, labeled as anti-China, sometimes even just outright racism against Chinese people.
Wow. So it's a powerful tool. It works internally to shut down dissent, right? Because disagreeing with the party is suddenly treasonous.
Pretty much. It's framed as betraying the nation, and then internationally, it lets the CCP position itself as the sole defender, the guardian of the nation.
And that's where that feeling of guilt comes in for critics. They worry they sound hateful when they're just arguing policy points.
Exactly. It makes people hesitant. And this isn't just about, say, Taiwan. It's broader. Think about platforms like TikTok or the Confucius Institutes mentioned in the materials.
How do they fit in?
There's a subtle narrative spread there, too, tying cultural pride directly to political loyalty. The danger, especially for younger generations, maybe those with Chinese heritage, is they start to think criticizing the party means rejecting their own culture.
Which is exactly the confusion they want to create.
Precisely. That confusion serves their goals perfectly.
Okay, so that leads us to the practical side. How do we counter this? The material really emphasized language precision.
Yes. This is probably the most crucial takeaway for you listening. Be conscious, be deliberate in your language.
Meaning?
Meaning use terms like anti-CCP, anti-Chinese Communist Party, or be specific, say you're against a particular policy. Avoid that very broad, very loaded term, anti-China.
And why is that distinction so vital?
Because using anti-China basically accepts the CCP's premise. You fall into their trap, confirming that the party is the nation.
I see. So instead, keep the focus locked on what?
On the system. The party's actions and their negative impacts. Things like, the handling of COVID origins or using economic muscle to coerce supply chains.
And by doing that, you're actually separating the people from the regime's actions.
Exactly. You affirm the Chinese people, their resilience, their contributions, while critiquing the governing system. Focus on facts, system flaws, not stereotypes.
Makes sense. And this isn't just about individual word choice, is it? The sources mention bigger defense lines.
Right. It needs a broader effort. First, definitely promoting media literacy, giving people the tools to spot manipulation themselves. Fact-checking is key.
And internationally.
International alignment is powerful. Like when democratic bodies, say the Australian Parliament, explicitly reject the CCP's spin on historical documents like UN resolutions. That carries weight.
And what about within Chinese communities globally?
There are efforts there, too, trying to redefine culture away from the party line, emphasizing traditional values like Confucian ideas of Renyi, benevolence, righteousness.
Instead of the party's focus on struggle.
Exactly. Making culture a source of unity, not a political tool for control.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly and look at some specific arguments the CCP uses, particularly about Taiwan. These kept popping up in the documents.
Yeah, they're common talking points. It's useful to deconstruct them. Let's take 3 core claims.
Go for it. What's the first one?
First claim. Taiwan is not a country and the UN doesn't recognize it. You hear this constantly.
Okay, reality check.
It's selective history. UN Resolution 2758 from 1971, that's the one they cite. It decided who held the China seat at the UN. The PRC got it. But, crucially, the resolution did not make any ruling on Taiwan's sovereignty.
So it just addressed representation, not statehood itself.
Precisely. And Taiwan objectively meets the standard criteria for statehood under the Montevideo Convention people: territory, government, sovereignty. Plus, you're seeing countries like the U.S. and Australia now openly pushing back against the CCP's distortion of 2758.
Okay, claim number 2. This one feels more psychological. Taiwan is hijacked by its ruling party, and its people don't grasp the mainland's strength.
Ah, yes. Pure cognitive warfare. The aim is to undermine confidence in Taiwan, create this sort of guilt, imply they're ungrateful or foolish. They push this idea that Taiwan's totally dependent economically.
And the reality check there.
It just ignores democracy. Taiwanese public opinion. Consistently, over 80% want to maintain the status quo. They don't want unification under the CCP. And the simplest historical fact: the CCP has never ruled Taiwan. Not for 1 day, 0 days.
0 days. That's a pretty stark fact. Okay, the third claim, and this one feels the most dangerous. The implication that military force, maybe even invasion, is somehow necessary or even for their own good.
Yeah, this is aggression masked as liberation talk. It echoes Mao-era thought reform ideas. It's a clear violation of the UN Charter against using force.
And we see this in other actions too, right? Not just military threats.
Absolutely. Even things that look helpful, like the vaccine diplomacy back in 2021, it turned out to be timed and executed for political leverage, aiming to create dependency, not just provide aid.
Which explains why Taiwan is so focused on things like the non-red supply chain and AI partnerships. They see it as countering an external threat.
Exactly. They're not treating it as an internal issue.
Okay, let's make this really concrete for you listening. Let's use a specific case study from 2025, the visits by Taiwan's Foreign Minister Ling Xiaolun to the U.S. The CCP reaction was textbook.
It really was. You could see the propaganda playbook in action almost immediately. 2 specific words jumped out in official statements and media. Always watch the vocabulary.
What was the first word?
They used the term quanfeng. This isn't a neutral word at all. It translates to something like sneaking visit or insidious visit.
So loaded from the start.
Totally loaded. The purpose is just to demonize normal diplomatic activity, to imply Taiwan isn't legitimate, doesn't deserve that kind of interaction. They explicitly used it for his New York trip.
And the second key phrase, probably one we've heard before.
Oh, yeah. The standard template. Woo! Interfering in China's internal affairs. It's the go-to phrase.
What's the goal with that one?
It's a soundbite. It shifts focus away from anything positive Taiwan is doing, like contributing to global tech supply chains, and just labels any cooperation with Taiwan as aggression, as a threat to China.
They even use some pretty extreme language, threatening self-destruction.
Yes, that zero-sum, fear-based rhetoric, saying Taiwan must inevitably destroy itself by pursuing these partnerships.
But how did Taiwan respond? That's also important for understanding how to counter this.
Crucial. Taiwan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MOFA, called the claims absurd and distorted history, straight-up factual rebuttal. But more importantly, Minister Lin himself didn't get drawn into an emotional tit-for-tat.
He stayed focused
on the substance, deepening partnerships, talking about AI cooperation, strengthening that non-red supply chain, concrete actions and contributions.
So sticking to facts and tangible partnerships seems to be the effective countermove.
It really confirms that strategy. Don't engage the propaganda on its own terms. Focus on reality.
All right, this brings us nicely to the most practical part, something you can use immediately. Let's give you that quick checklist. 6 steps to analyze information like this when you see it.
Yeah, keep these 6 points in mind. When you encounter a headline, a post, whatever, run it through this mental check. 1, look for labeling. Our opponents just slapped with a simple negative label, like separatist or splinter faction, without discussing their actual views or policies.
Okay, number 2, check for emotional framing. Is the message mostly about stirring up anger, fear, threats, national humiliation, rather than actual policy details or legal points?
3, check repetition and synchronization. This is a big tell. Are you seeing the exact same phrase, word for word, pop up across state media, government briefings, social media, all at the same time?
Suggests a coordinated script, not organic discussion.
Exactly. 4, look for blame shifting. Are internal issues or problems being blamed entirely on external enemies or foreign interference, ignoring any domestic factors?
All right, 5, examine selective history. Are they quoting documents, like that UN resolution, or historical events, but leaving out crucial context, using only the bits that fit their narrative?
And finally, 6, Spot zero-sum framing. Is the whole situation presented as win or lose? Like any support for Taiwan automatically means you're betraying the entire Chinese nation. That kind of binary.
That's a really useful checklist.
And remember, your own response matters too. How you talk about these things. Be precise. Focus on policies, on systems.
Avoid those broad generalizations, right?
Yeah.
Don't insult the people or the culture.
Because if you do, you're just handing them ammunition for their propaganda that claims all criticism is just Western hostility towards Chinese people themselves.
Got it. Okay, let's wrap this up.
So the main takeaway today, I think, is that most criticism you see isn't aimed at the Chinese people or culture. It's targeted at the CCP regime, its system, its specific policies.
And the defense against cognitive warfare is
Precise language. And constantly verifying facts. It's really the only reliable way.
It's a powerful knowledge indeed. And maybe a final thought for you to chew on. When we globally get lazy with our language, when we casually mix up the party and the people,
We actually help them.
we inadvertently give power back to the party, help them consolidate control, and silence dissent, both inside and outside China. So keep practicing that critical thinking. It's vital.
We really appreciate you tuning in and engaging with us. Being an informed consumer of information matters.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for Sip and Talk. If you found this useful, do subscribe for more discussions like this.
And just to be crystal clear, as always, our goal here is objective analysis to aid critical thinking. We're not aiming to criticize or discriminate against any nation, group, or individual, just trying to understand the complex narratives out there.